A commercial-rated all-purpose grinder designed to stand out both on your countertop and in your cup. Updated for 2024 with an improved user interface and upgraded burr geometry for even more consistent grinding across a full spectrum of grind sizes. Hi there, Brian here with Whole Latte Love, and in this video I'm going to be covering the Life X, an update to Ceado's all-purpose Life grinder. If you're subscribed to our channel, which let's face it, you really should be, you know that I reviewed Ceado's Life grinder last year, and since that review, it became my go-to grinder in the studio for pour-overs and hoops. Just like its predecessor, the Life X is a 50mm multi-purpose flat burr grinder built and designed in Italy to not only be dependable and durable, but to complement the aesthetics of any space. Stick around as I cover the features of the grinder, walk through a couple workflows, discuss testing results, and more. The best part, we'll be giving this very grinder away to one lucky winner. Check the link in the video description for all the details. And I will say though, that you'll want to make sure that you pay attention to this review. It'll definitely help your chances. The Life X has many of the same features that made its predecessor one of my favorite grinders of last year. First of all, the footprint on this grinder is remarkably small for the capabilities. It's only 4 inches by 5 inches. My favorite feature, of course, is the dual functionality, where you can either have hopper fed grinding or swap out for the single dose grinding, which is my preferred method. If you are going to be doing hopper dose grinding, you do still have the 2 timed grind settings that you can adjust within 1/10 of a second increments. Of course, the Life X also improves on the original design in a few ways. Most notably, the X burrs that are installed in there have an improved cutting geometry, which allows for the beans to feed through the burrs a little bit easier. The grind chamber in there is a little bit taller on the Life X, which allows for a larger maximum grind size. As the grounds exit the grinding chamber into the chute, the flap that controls the flow of grounds has been improved, which allows the grounds to leave a little bit easier, thus mitigating like re-grinding of the grounds. My favorite feature perhaps is the improved user interface. As you can see, we've got now A and B out to the sides instead of a single and a double cup. And we have the manual dosing option right here on the home screen. You don't have to go into a menu to get to it. For me, I always use the manual dosing personally, so it is really useful to have that right there on the home screen. Now I'm going to take you through a couple quick workflows here on the Ceado Life X grinder, starting with hopper fed on demand grinding. Now when you're first starting out, and once you got your grind size all figured out and dialed in, you're going to want to set your timed grind dosing. Now that's going to take a little bit of guessing and checking with weighing and figuring out what time you need to get what you need out. But since I've been using this grinder for a little while now, I know that I need it to be set to 13.8 seconds to get out what I want for this portafilter. And how you do that is you access the menu, you have time, you choose the dose you want to change, and then you press the plus button. I can press and hold it to move it a little faster. So let's get it to 13.8, then you just let it go, watch that little bar close out, and then we're all good on that check mark. So that means that when I press that B button, we're going to get 13.8 seconds of grinding. So let's just put our portafilter in there and press B, and there you go. You can see how it dispenses just like perfectly right into the center of the portafilter, very nicely. And this is without RDTing. And look at that. That looks great. So, whoop, a little spill there, but now all I would need to do is tamp that and I'd be ready to pull an espresso. So, but let's say I wanted to swap now out to my Ethiopia Limu. What I would need to do then is close the hopper, and then I want to purge all the beans that are below the hopper. So, once I get, and I use the manual grinding for that, but once I get nothing coming out there, I'm good to go. And remove the hopper. There we go. Let's just put that over here. And then we can attach the single doser and the bellows. And now we're going to go through a single dosing workflow. First off, you're going to want to pre-weigh your beans to get out exactly what you want. I know this portafilter fits 18 grams just nice. So Whoop, a little too much. There we go, perfect. And so when single dosing with this grinder, I like to get a hot start, which means that the burrs are already spinning by the time you add the beans in. It kind of gives a little bit more of a uniform grind size. And to do that, you really need 2 dosing cups. And while the dosing cup that they supply is perfectly suitable, if you're going to be transferring it into a portafilter, it's really not ideal. That's why I really like using my Akaya 58 millimeter dosing cup, because it just transferring is really simple. So first thing I'm going to do is take my beans, give them a quick couple spritzes of water, and shake them to get the water across all the beans. And once I get a good shake in there, I'm going to remove the plunger, position my catch cup under the chute, and start grinding. And that way I can just add the beans into the top up here, add the plunger, and once it gets down to the bottom, I can start gently pressing the bellows. And there you go. You stop the burrs, and we've got a beautiful ground distribution in there. Simply take your portafilter, put it on top, give it a quick shake, and there you go. That would only need a tamp at that point, and you'd be ready to brew a delicious, tasty espresso. Now it's time to go over some of the results of my testing, so get ready for some graphs. With the increased height of the grinding chamber, the first thing I wanted to know was how coarse could it really get? So I did full particle analysis testing at each of the numerical points on the knob. Here are the results. As you can see, you have a good amount of space down there at the bottom to really dial in your espresso. And you also have a max grind size on the other end of over 1,000, capable of making a French press. Here it is compared to the original Life grinder, which clearly displays how much coarser it gets. The updates to the Life X also claim that it produces less fines across the entire grinding spectrum compared to its predecessor. As you can see here, when set to the finest setting, the Life X did indeed produce less fines. However, the median particle size was a little larger, so the data is skewed a little. When set to the coarsest setting, the difference in fine production became a little more apparent. As you can see here, both median grind sizes were in the same measurement range, but the total amount of fines were noticeably different. The grinding speed when set to a grind size suitable for espresso was 1.32 grams per second, which isn't the fastest, but certainly isn't bad either. Hopper-fed grind time accuracy output never missed the mark by more than 0.4 of a gram, which is also pretty decent. The Life X is also a fairly quiet grinder. Our standard noise level test measured at an operating distance away produced peak noise level of 73.9 and an average of 70.5 decibels. And that noise has what I would call a more muted tone to it than other grinders in this range. Ceado also claims that through these updates and with its improved fine production that the Life X simply produces better, cleaner tasting coffees. Have you ever bought some coffee and seen the tasting notes listed on the bag and it just doesn't taste anything like that? Well, it might be your grinder. Obviously, taste is not something as easily put into a graph, but I decided a quick cupping of our Whole Latte Love single origin coffees would be a perfectly suitable test. My good friend Zach and I brought our combined 20 plus years of tasting to the cupping table to see if there really was a noticeable difference in flavor between the Life and Life X grinders. We ground 3 cups for each coffee, one using the Life, one using the Life X, and one using our lab calibration grinder as a control. In comparing our notes, we were incredibly in sync and agreed that the Life X did in fact produce cleaner, better overall tasting flavors for all 3 coffees than the original Life, and even came fairly close to matching the quality of the calibration grinder. The bright berry notes of the naturally processed Ethiopia Limu provided the most stark difference of the samples. In comparison to the Life X, those flavors of the Ethiopia from the original Life were muddier and also dissipated much faster during cooling than the Life X. But the effects of flavor on cooling coffees is the topic for a whole nother video. Now it's time to take you inside the Life X grinder. All you're going to need for that is a Phillips head screwdriver, which is pretty nifty. First step, always unplug your grinder. Don't need any electricity going to it at all. Shutting it off, not good enough. Go ahead and straight unplug it. Then you're going to close your bean hopper if you have the bean hopper installed, and then lift it off And if you had beans in there, remove them maybe with a vacuum or whatever you want to do. There's a little screw on the back here. So what you're going to want to do first is remove that screw. And something I like to do is I always like to have a little cup or something next to me so I can put the screws in. For this, I'm going to use the dosing cup. This rubberized top part, really you just get your fingernails under there and pull up on it, and it comes right off, just like that. Set that off to the side. Now, we've got 6 screws in the top. Really, to remove the burr plate, you only need to remove the 3 outside screws. So let's do that. And that's all you really need to do. Just grab onto these, lift off, and there's your burrs. And if you wanted to clean them, get your brush, give it a quick brush there. And as I mentioned earlier, the burr geometry of the Life X is slightly different of the X burrs. So I just happen to have a set of the original burrs right there. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but what they've done is they've increased the amount of feeding teeth by making the teeth go all the way to the center, which is not the case on this one. So much improved feeding of the beans through the burrs there. And just to put it back together, you just do the opposite. One thing I do really like is there's a little notch here in the front and there's a little cutout right here so that you're always going to put that top burr plate back in exactly the same way. And those are 50 millimeter hardened steel flat burrs. Let's get our screws back out and put them back in. Take your little rubberized part, see the little hole in the back? We want to make sure that that goes in the back. So push that back down so that all those go back in. You can put your hopper back on, and this is when I would apply that last screw after the hopper's already on. And there you go. If you ever wanted to clean your grinder, that's really all it takes. In the box with the Ceado Life X grinder, you'll find the grinder, bean hopper, single dosing attachment and bellows, and the dosing cup. If you're seeking a grinder that can handle whatever life throws at it, congratulations, your search is at an end. With all the updates inside and out, the Life X is a perfect blend of versatility and build quality. Designed for consistency across a full spectrum of grind sizes, this is the perfect grinder for anyone who enjoys preparing a variety of styles of coffee, from espresso to French press. As always, feel free to leave me a comment if you have any questions. Once again, I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and don't forget to visit our contest page linked in the description for your chance to win this grinder right here. I hope you were paying attention. Okay, that's it for now, but I'll see you back soon for more of the best on everything coffee.